Hey, this is Jeff. We're talking about ladder safety today. And yeah, we're going to talk about it here in a classroom setting because we're going to talk academically, not practical. Like we're not going to show you physically hands-on how to use a ladder. You'll get that training. But right now we're going to walk through the points of how a ladder is built, how it's made, and how we use them. Okay, we'll start with a simple. We're going to talk about each ladder and the components, and then we'll talk about loading a ladder, unloading a ladder, how you carry them, all that kind of stuff. So you start with what we call A-frame ladders. These are commonly called step ladders. I don't know. It came, I think, from me. We just never called them step ladders because to me, a step ladder is like the little 3-foot ladder, little 3-rung ladder that you just sort of reach a cabinet, like to get the sugar out of the top shelf in the kitchen. We've just always called them A-frame ladders. So your basic A-frame ladder, we carry sometimes 6-foot ladders. Generally, we don't like to carry 8-footers, although you might see one around. We go up to 10 from there. So we have some 6-footers, we have 10-footers, and we really like the 12-footers. The difference from the 10-footer to the 12-footer is pretty substantial in the weight and the build of the ladder. It gets much more robust, a solid ladder when you get to 12 feet. They last longer, and they give you a little more height. The 14s and 16s, we've had those too. They start to get really heavy. A 16-foot ladder, you can't even get made in aluminum. They have to be fiberglass. And when I say it's a 2-man ladder to move it, it's a difficult to move 2-man ladder. It is, I don't know what the weight is. You can look them up. It is way heavy. So we don't have those. So an A-frame ladder is like this. So you have the pieces of the ladder. In any ladder, the side piece going up and down, this vertical piece on the side is called the railing or rail of the ladder rail, okay? The part you step on is called the rung, R-U-N-G. It's the rung of the ladder, okay? I don't know the name of this part. When you open up an A-frame ladder, the little cross support bar here, it's called whatever you call it, cross support bar. But that's the thing when you open it up, when you open those, you want to make sure they latch down and close completely. You can't have them like this. They have to be locked down so that the ladder doesn't collapse on you and move and adjust on you. Okay. Simple rules about using an A-frame ladder are that you always have it mounted on a relatively flat level. It can be a little bit offset like this. Okay. You really want to avoid that. You don't want to use an A-frame ladder like it's a single piece ladder. You don't. Spreaders. Thank you. So the spreader has to be locked down. And they do, by the way, they're always set there. You'll notice they're never like this. When they're locked, they actually have a little recession to them where they're down a little bit. Okay. That keeps them from being like right here and easily propped up. They require a little bit of effort and push. If you just push against the two rails towards one another, it's not going to pop itself up. Yeah, like a folding table. So when you set the ladder, you never set it like this and lean it against a gutter or against a house. It is never used as, I don't even know what you call that, like a single piece ladder. You never lean it like that. You always use it in the A position, okay? Always locked with the spreaders locked down. The top, very top of the ladder, up here, the platform, and the next rung down, you never stand on, okay? According to OSHA, you never use that. It's a do not step rung. That's not what it's there for. It's there to hold the ladder together. I mean, in theory, you could say, why not just get rid of that rung and so nobody could ever stand on it? I don't know. I'm sure it makes it a more stable material ladder, but you never stand on those.
What about in situations where you're, for example, this is entirely different from SoftWash lights.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in a column and
Okay.
you can't extend it.
Yeah. I'm just telling you what the OSHA regulations are. Like, it's a no step. You don't step on it. It leaves you unstable on the ladder. Okay. You say, well, if I climb up a 6-foot ladder and I'm on that top rung before I get to the top platform, or I'm on a 14-foot ladder and I'm farther up, why is that not allowed? This is like, I has me higher because there's ladder to hold on to, like it's stable. Your shins lean against it and all that. It gives you a more stable position to be in. OSHA says do not step on that top rung. Okay. Um, it's a good question, fair question, right? But that's pretty simple, straightforward. We don't put ladder levelers on it. We'll talk about those in extension ladders. We don't add any accessories to our A-frame ladders. Other people may, we don't. The only accessory you could use with an A-frame ladder would be one of them little clip holders you put on the ladder to hold your pail, like when you're painting and staining. We don't attach anything to our A-frame ladders. When it comes to extension ladders, these are your ladders that have like two sections and they slide up and down. Okay. Components of that ladder are the same. You have the railings or rails on the side. You have the rungs that hold the ladder. That's the part you step on. Incidentally, let's go back to the A-frame. On an A-frame, most A-frames, traditional standard A-frames, have a rung side and they have a support side. You don't step on those thin little pieces of metal going across. They're not steps, they're not rungs. Okay. You can get A-frame ladders that are built with proper rungs on each side. They're obviously heavier, they're more robust. But our ladders generally have rungs on one side and the support side on the other, and we don't use those. You don't walk up those. Okay. Now we'll go back to extension ladders. So you have the rails on the side, you have the rungs. You're going to have claw feet typically on an A-frame ladder. At the bottom of an A-frame ladder, the piece that has the claw is the piece that stays on the ground, and it's the piece that's closest to you. Okay, out of the two ladders, the way you build an A-frame ladder and an extension ladder, and we'll get to it. You put the ladder stabilizer on and all that, and the ladder levelers. The part of the ladder that stays on the ground is the part with the claw foot, and it's going to be when you have a ladder in use and lean it up against where it leans on. The section of ladder that's closest to you is going to be the one with the claw feet. Okay. Now on our ladders, we add ladder levelers. Okay. This device is attached to the ladder in a particular way so that it goes, it can go over the rung, the hole on the side where the rung is, and the plate can be like this, but you can't mash it down when you tighten it up. You'll see in the construction, take a look at your ladder. We use spacers, little they're technically washers, but we put enough of them in there in spacers so that thing can stay like this. And generally what we've done is adjusted how we put these on, and we don't put them over the hole in the rung. We put them up here. Okay. Still gives you plenty of adjustment. You're not using a ladder leveler to get an extra 12 or 18 inches of lift to the ladder. The purpose of the leveler is that it levels out the ladder. So when you use a leveler, in theory, there should be a need to only use one side at a time. If you've got the right side extended out 8 inches, and now you've got to extend the other one 12 inches to get it level, you're using it wrong. Lower this one down so that this side needs to be adjusted just a few inches so that the ladder is not doing this, it's straight up. You go to set a ladder with the ladder leveler, you go to set a ladder and it's leaning like this, that means this ladder leveler needs to be extended at the bottom and go out so that it shores this up and gets it straight up and down, perpendicular to the ground. If you're like this and this ladder leveler is already out 6 inches, then lower it, okay? And now when you do that, it's probably going to do some of this. And if it's still not right, but it's all the way up, then you just need that small adjustment to get the ladder perpendicular, okay? So your ladder levelers are not meant to both be used at once. One should be all the way retracted, and then the one can be adjusted so that the ladder goes straight up and down perpendicular to the ground, okay? The other piece of the ladder is called the dogs, the hooks. When you pull the ladder up and extend it and it goes up, the dogs are these pieces that'll go clink, 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 clink. The way they're built with the little plastic piece here that locks it in around the rung and all that, as it goes up, it wants to naturally fall back in place and hold on to the rung, okay? The way it's designed is when you lift it all the way up and then you lower it, if you have that plastic piece retract correctly, it stands in the way of the next rung so it can come back down. It can lower, okay? The way to help do that, if you're getting trouble when you have the ladder extended and it won't lower, you need to lean the ladder back towards you, away from the structure, away from the building, the house that it's leaning on, so that that dog will retract back and will lower. If you're trying to lower and it doesn't want to free itself up and come down, it's because you've got too much tilt towards the house, the building that it's leaning on. So that's what they're called, the dogs. The other piece is your rope and pulley. I don't think it has a fancy name. Maybe it does. The halyard. For dogs is? What's that? They're called rung locks. Rung locks. We always call them the dogs. You call them dogs. That's what everybody's calling them. So the rung locks. Yeah. Your pulley goes up. This is meant to be used where it's free and easy movement. We don't pull on that halyard, that line, to force things. Like if the ladder's leaning against the house, we don't drag it up the house. You're going to scrape up the house, we'll get to this. You got pads on your protectors on your ladder leveler and all this stuff. You don't scrape the ladder against what it's leaning on. The halyard should be used when the ladder goes from this position back to straight up and down, and in fact, a little bit this way, okay? And somebody pulling on that halyard to lower or to raise and lower the ladder pieces, okay? The other part of the ladder at the very top, I don't know the name of it. You could look this up too. The very end of the rail at the top, the end of the ladder, I don't know, it's just the end of the railing. Depending on how you use your ladder, some people put your foam protectors, like your ladder protectors, right there, okay? We don't do that because we don't ever use an extension ladder without a ladder leveler, okay? The horn looking thing that goes on the ladder is meant to give it stability. Instead of the ladder leaning against something here, and that's your stability point, your mounting point, we spread that out with the horns to the ladder leveler like this, and now it won't slide and move, and it's stable, okay? So that when you lean it up against the house, and more appropriately, 99% of the time when we're leaning a ladder into a house, we're setting it so that the ladder leveler, stabilizer, is leaning onto the shingles of the roof. That's how we use it. Most of our work, we don't need to climb a ladder to treat the actual house facade, the siding. Sometimes we do. If we're going to be treating a chimney, well, we're going above the gutter line anyways, so we want the stabilizer up, leaning onto the roof itself. If we're treating a section of a house that's so high up that we can't reach it without going up a ladder to get some help to get to that height, we still should be able to do the same thing and lean it so that the stabilizer is on the roof itself, and then you're just going up at whatever height you need to be able to reach and treat that section that you can't reach from the ground, you know. But the stabilizer is attached to the ladder, so you've got this main. Look that up. See what are the components of a ladder? If you have two pieces, whatever they're called.
An extension ladder, the piece that stays on the ground is the base.
The base.
The piece that moves is called the fly section.
All right, let me start over. So now we're looking at the stabilizer. How do you attach the stabilizer? The section of the extension ladder that stays on the ground is called the base, and the piece that goes up is it called the fly?
Fly.
The fly that goes up, okay? It's going to attach to the fly, obviously, because it needs to go up with the ladder and lean on the roof. And it goes on the outside of the fly. If you have your base here, okay, and you have the fly section here, when your stabilizer's on, it's out here. It's attached. So let's pretend this is the fly, and that's the house. It doesn't go over on this side. It goes on this side, okay? And that way, when the horns go out like this, you're getting the most amount of reach, and it gives you separation so that the ladder railings, the rails, do not rub against the gutter. When we properly lean in, set a ladder down, and lean it into the house, and let the stabilizer reach the roof, it needs to be at such an angle so that the rails do not rest on the gutter. The attachment point of the the ladder to the roof needs to be the stabilizer horns resting on the roof without touching the rest of the house. And on that, you have those covers that go over the ladder protectors. We put them on the horns of the stabilizer themselves so that they rest on the shingles and you don't scrape or scratch, tear up the roof. And in the event you had to put it against the siding of the house, which happens occasionally, not often, Likewise, you're not leaning the horns unprotected into the house. We used to, before we started buying and using those protectors that we use now, we used to put like towels, terry cloth towels, and tape them up real well. That doesn't really work. It lasts for maybe a month at best, and then it's torn up, and then you got to redo it again, and you find that people just don't replace them, and you end up hurting your client's house. So we don't do it that way.
This is probably an unrelated thing, but those pads have to be clean. So when I went to remove lights this year,
Mhm.
there was the lady complained because there was 2 marks on the side of the house where they
Oh,
left the ladder on the house
yeah,
with those footies on there,
yeah.
and they must have used those footies while they were staining or something, and left marks on the
I
side.
could see
So
the oils
they
and stuff coming off the roof and actually staining that, and then being
they
left
have
on
to
the
be
house.
cleaned just as you
So
rinse
they,
your truck. You rinse those
yeah,
oils
so
off.
you do. That's a good point, Matt. You got to rinse those the ladder stabilizer. Those protectors have to be cleaned and rinsed pretty much on a regular basis, just like the rest of the truck. Otherwise, they can leave marks against the house. So um, we're going to save the physical, like the showing of how you raise and lower and set a ladder and the angles and all that stuff for when we can show you practically in the field. But right now, it's just a basic ladder safety class. So those are the components of the ladder. And I'm going to describe to you, for safety reasons, how we handle our ladders. But again, there will be a lesson showing and demonstrating this to you anyways. So when you have a ladder, let's say it's sitting on the ladder rack, it's strapped in. We always put straps, the Velcro straps, attach our ladders to the ladder racks. There's always more straps than ladders. So if you have one ladder, you have 2 straps holding it to the ladder rack, right? Minimum 2 straps. If you have 2 ladders, one stacked on top of the other, and we always put, let's talk about this. You put, let's say you have a 40, a 28, and an A-frame. The 40 always goes by itself. The lighter weight ladder, whether it's a 28 or a 32, has the A-frame sitting on top of it. And when you have 2 ladders, you have a minimum of 3 straps holding them together and holding them to the ladder rack. Okay. Now, when you go to remove them, you always have one person. One person has to climb up. Well, for short guys like me, you got to climb up. For some guys, they can reach the straps from the ground. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We will. We're going to do it. Thank you. We're going to demonstrate that. He's saying make sure the ladders are strapped together. We're going to demonstrate that on that video to show you how they're strapped in. Right now, it's that you got to have 3 straps for 2 ladders. Okay. But when you go to remove the ladder, the straps have to come off. We don't, matter of procedure, we do not just toss those straps. You put them right back around the ladder rack so you always know where they're at. You don't lose them. Okay. You can't get home from the job site to the warehouse if you don't have the straps. Okay. When you go to remove the ladder, one person is at the base of the ladder, the very bottom of the foot where the claw are going to be. Okay. The claw feet and the ladder levelers rather. And as the person on the truck starts to slide the ladder back, and the ladder comes back and is going to go up a little bit, one person grabs the rails, not the ladder levelers, grabs the railing of the ladder and starts to walk back with that and let it come back. And the other person gets under the ladder, and before you get to the very end of the ladder, they're propping their hands up under it so that when you go to lift it off the ladder rack, you'll see that when it's in this position and you still have some of the ladder sticking up over the ladder rack, you lift it off of there and you walk away from it. You don't get it all the way down to here before you try to lift it up. Okay. When you're pulling it back, you stop about here where you've got 3 to 5 feet of ladder sticking up over the ladder rack. The person here gets their hands on the rails, whatever height they are where they can reach the rails, lifts it off, you walk away, and as this person continues to walk with the bottom of the ladder, you can then walk your hands down the railing to lower the ladder down to this. And when you get it all the way in front of you, you then hold the ladder by the rails, and then the 2 of you walk that way, facing forward, facing backwards, doesn't matter. Okay. It's nice to face the direction, but you can safely walk backwards with a ladder, but it's with it in front of you. We don't carry ladders up here, over here. We don't carry them over here. Okay. Number one uh, job site accident for workers' comp claims and for loss of work time injuries has to do with ladders. two things: falling off of them and misuse in carrying them. Okay? That's a fact. So we do not carry ladders here. We don't carry ladders here and here. The rungs of the ladders, the rails of the ladders are in your hands, on your right in front of you, whether you're at the top of the ladder or the bottom, and you walk it like that. Okay? When we go to load it, it's just the opposite. You walk up to the ladder rack, and again, you'll see this in a demonstration video. One person has to get it up over their head and get it walk down the rails so that you're walking down the rails and you get 3 or 4 or 5 feet of the ladder behind you. You walk backwards to the ladder rack. The person on the other end is your eyes, is your guide, telling you where to go. And when you can get the rails up to the ladder rack bar, you lower it and you get out of the way, and this person can slide it up the ladder rack. Okay? You don't go climbing up the ladder rack and handing it up to you and all this other stuff. You can face the ladder rack, but you don't try to lift the ladder up onto the ladder rack. You use the leverage. The ladder's like this. Your ladder rack is up here. You lift this piece up. This person can even squat a little bit, okay, to help with the angle. As you walk towards it, you're here holding it here, and you get to the ladder rack, and when you can lay it there, you get out of the way, and they can push the ladder up onto the ladder rack. Okay? It'll be a good demonstration video when we make that. When it comes to walking the ladder to where it goes, we do not carry ladders this way. This is how you run into trees. You end up dropping them. You lose your footing. You strain your back. You hit overhead power lines. All kinds of hazards that can happen. We carry ladders from here to there like this. Okay? When you get it to where it's going, you can set the ladder down. We'll do this great in a demonstration video, but you have somebody on the bottom of the ladder at the base. They're going to put their feet on the rung, not on the ladder levelers. You put your feet on those little orange feet. Your feet, your boots go on those ladder leveler feet. You're going to rip them off. They're coming off the ladder. They may not come off that day, but guaranteed they will come off after maybe 6 or 10 tries of holding your foot down on that little orange foot. And now you have a leveler that's worthless. And that foot, they're very expensive, has to be thrown out. Worse than that, you just stopped production on a job because you can't use that ladder safely because you just wrecked the ladder leveler. Okay? We never put our feet, our boots, on top of those little feet at the bottom of the ladder levelers. Never. Okay? It's not how it's done. You put your foot against the rung. The person on the other end at the very top of the ladder gets under it. We don't walk down rung to rung. You put your hands on the rails and you walk your way up the rails as the ladder comes up. You push up on the ladder. You're going to hold it by the rails and walk your way down. And that's how you raise the ladder to the straight up position. And once it's close enough, this person here never takes their foot off of that bottom rung, holding it to the ground. Then they can finish off by helping you get that last little bit.
They need to keep their center of gravity on over top of it until they can actually pull it themselves and assist with the lift.
Yeah.
So the person that's putting their foot on it, they got to basically put their center of gravity over top of that.
Yeah, what he's saying is when you put your foot on that base rung, okay, you're putting some weight right down on top of it. It's not for show, and it's not like a paper clip holding onto a piece of paper. You're holding it in place. The safety and well-being of the person under the ladder, okay, requires you to hold that thing firmly, no movement to the ladder. And that's another important point. Every one of these movements, as we describe and do them, you do not move. If you're the guy not moving, you don't move until the other person is finished and tells you okay. So if you're this guy and you're walking away and I go to lower this ladder and I get it almost there and you start taking off, okay, I'm going to, like, the ladder's going to get pulled out of my hands. I'm going to stumble. When you are picking up this ladder and raising it, okay, that's actually pretty easy. You generally don't have accidents going that way. It's when you go to lower it, this person's now holding the base here with their foot, and this person's going to walk their way down the rails like this to go down the ladder, and they get to about here, and they're just about to lower that ladder, and this person reaches down and starts to pick up the ladder. becomes very unstable and it moves around and you're going to get knocked in the head, you're going to drop the ladder, you're going to strain your back, you're going to get injured, or you're going to break the ladder. Okay? You wait until this person has dropped that ladder all the way and is in this position, and now the person holding the base of the ladder can reach down and pick up their side. Okay? I know this was descriptive and not the demonstration, but now when we go out to demonstrate the ladder and show you that video, and you do it yourself, you'll have this explanation to refer back to as you're learning how to do it. We're going to repeat this lesson in the demonstration, but you've heard it for the first time. That's ladder safety. One last question.
Is that for carrying an extension ladder or an A-frame?
That's for, well, both ladders. When you carry an A-frame, I don't know what the real OSHA rules are, but I would say that I know I've done it, and I think it's safe and reasonable and can be done. You can carry a 6 to 12 foot A-frame yourself, like holding it like this. In fact, when I say don't carry an extension ladder by yourself, there is I don't know if it's OSHA approved. I guess it is. A fireman's way of carrying a ladder, where you put the ladder against your shoulder and you carry an extension ladder this way yourself, where you balance it. We just don't do that. Okay, it's not a safe way to do it. Number one job site injury is handling ladders and falling off ladders. Obviously, falling off ladders I think is number one. But number two job site incident where you have loss of work and injuries on a job site is mishandling use of moving ladders and all that, not like the use of them.
You got to communicate with your partner
So
when you're handling extension ladders.
Yes, communication is key with extensions.
I thought you were going to move. I thought
Yeah.
we were going this way.
Yeah. The rule of thumb is if you're doing something other than both in this position carrying it, only one person moves at a time. I think that's a good way of saying it.
Yeah.
So if I'm walking my way down the rails rather, to get to this position, or if we're go the other way, the other person can't move until I stop or clear them to move and say, okay, now we can both move. We can walk the ladder this way. From this angle, I'm going to walk into the ladder rack. From this angle, I'm going to walk away from the ladder rack. Once one of you starts moving their way up or down the rails of that ladder, the other person, whatever position they're in, is like an anchor. You can't move. That's how you get hurt. That's how you drop the ladder. We talk about the welfare of the company. As of this recording, dropping and breaking a 40-foot ladder, breaking means bending it. Once an extension ladder, one part of the base of the fly, one of those pieces bends, there's no bending it back, pretty much. They can bend a tiny little bit, and you might be able to get away with bending it back. When they bend, they tend to not bend a little bit. When you drop a ladder intentionally or not, one of those, they bend, basically. And now they don't slide, and you're trying to bend it back into that position. Well, they never do. So right now, for us to replace a 40-foot ladder is about $600. Okay? So when we don't strap a ladder in properly, or we misuse them and drop them and break them, bend them, it's $600 gone. So that's not a lot of money for a company our size. It's like paying $1,200 for a ladder. If we get 5 years of use out of a ladder and now we only get a year, it's like paying, worse than that, it's like paying $3,000 for that ladder. Because we got 20% of the use, so we got 1/5. So to get 5 years of use out of ladders, we have to buy 5 of them. So it's like paying $3,000 for that ladder instead of $600. That's the way it really hits our budget, the way it hits our books. You say, well, I'm not going to break it next year. You broke it this year. We paid $600 for a 1-year use ladder. That's the equivalent of $3,000 for 5 years. We're supposed to get, say, I don't think it's literally 5 years. We probably get about 3 years out of a ladder. So doing that math, it would be like paying $1,800 for that ladder. We can't pay $1,800 for 40-foot ladders and put them on our trucks.